So the last speaker in this session is Miracle Etim-Andy. The title of her talk is Cross-Sectional Associations Between Thigh Muscle Imaging and Function in Older Adults.
Good afternoon. My name is Miracle Etim-Andy, and I will be presenting cross-sectional associations between thigh muscle imaging and function in older adults. Obesity is a prevailing health concern that is associated with medical complications among older adults. While intentional weight loss in this population can help lower the risk of establishing certain obesity-related health conditions, there are concerns regarding the associated muscle loss and potential worsening of functional performance. These health-related concerns are examined in an NIH-funded clinical trial entitled Incorporating Nutrition, Vest Education, and Strength Training in Bone Health, or Invest in Bone Health for short. The main goal of the INVEST trial is to compare the effects of weight loss alone with weight loss plus weighted vest use or weight loss plus resistance training on indicators of bone health and subsequent fracture risk. The criteria for participants to be enrolled in the trial include having a BMI of 30 to 40 kilograms per meter squared, or a BMI between 27 and 30 kilograms per meter squared with at least one obesity-related comorbidity, including, but not limited to, diabetes, hypertension, and dyslipidemia. While this is the basis of our larger study, the purpose of this study in particular is to examine the associations of muscle imaging and functional performance of the participants before their random assignment. We want to see where the baseline group has similar implications to the participants after they finish going through the clinical trial. Utilizing the data from the ongoing INVEST trial, we were able to examine associations between sophisticated image measures using CT scans of the lower extremity muscle quality and fat infiltration by using the CT scan imaging and functional testing. Our findings may help identify modifiable predictors of functional decline and guide intervention strategies to preserve muscle health. The baseline data of 29 INVEST participants enrolled from September 2020 through July 2021 was included in the analysis. When it came to functional testing, there were 4 physical function examinations performed. The first one being a 400-meter walk test, where participants were asked to walk 400 meters, or the length of a standard outdoor track. The second functional test being a timed up and go, where participants were asked to stand from a seated position, walk 3 meters forward, turn, walk 3 meters back, and sit down. The time that it took them to complete the task was recorded. The third functional test is a timed stair climb test, where participants were asked to walk up a flight of 12 steps unassisted. If they were unable to complete the flight, the number of steps that they were able to go up in 60 seconds was recorded. The fourth and final test was done using an isokinetic dynamometer, where the force production of the participant's dominant leg was recorded. The participant was asked to sit in a seat, and they were strapped in across their chest and their waist. Their leg was then attached to the arm of the machine, which provided a constant resistance to the participant's leg. The force production of the participant against the leg was recorded. CT imaging was done using a PET-CT GE Discovery MI scanner. From the scan, we were able to produce an image of which I was able to take an axial slice at 50% of the length of the femur, which is an estimation of the mid-thigh section, and perform a segmentation using a software entitled Mimics. From the software, I was then able to segment the skeletal muscle from the intermuscular and subcutaneous fat and record the cross-sectional area and attenuation of each tissue. A skeletal muscle, which is in pink, was recorded from -29 to 150 Hounsfield unit. Intermuscular fat, which is in the bright yellow, was recorded from -190 to 30 Hounsfield unit. And the green, which is the subcutaneous fat, was also recorded from negative 190 to 30 Hounsfield units. All segmentations were done on the dominant leg of the participant to match the unilateral results that we received from their functional examinations. When it came to the demographic breakdown of the population, there were 29 older adults having the average age of 66.2 years with a standard deviation of 4.4 years. The mean BMI was 34.1 kilograms per meter squared with a standard deviation of 3 kilograms per meter squared, and 28% of our population was represented and identified as African American. Again, segmentations were done on the dominant leg of the participant in order to match the unilateral data that we got from the functional testing. The functional test can be found across the x-axis with the leg strength max and average being received from the isokinetic dynamometer exam, the 400-meter walk test, which we recorded seconds, the time up and go, which was also recorded in seconds, and the stair climb test, which was recorded in seconds. But using an equation, we were able to calculate the watts or the power production of the participants within this functional examination. Across the y-axis, we have the beta, or the number of units of each functional test in particular to match with the CT image analysis. Using a software entitled JMP, I was able to run a generalized linear regression model with adjustments made for sex to find associations between the functional performance and cross-sectional area of muscle attenuation. Muscle can be found in the orange, where intermuscular fat is found in the blue, and subcutaneous fat found in purple. We found that a higher mid-thigh muscle cross-sectional area was associated with a greater leg strength, and there were trends of positive trends of a stair climb power production. When it came to the muscle cross-sectional area, when we look at the mean leg strength at 60 degrees, we were able to see that for every 1 centimeter squared of a higher muscle area, there was a 0.683 newton meters higher production of force. And when it came to the max leg strength extension, we were able to see a 0.759 newton meters higher production of force. As we look at the subcutaneous and intermuscular fat, we were able to see positive trends with having a longer 400-meter walk time. For every 10 centimeters squared of a higher intermuscular fat area, it took the participant an additional 26.8 seconds to complete the 400-meter walk test, while when it came to subcutaneous fat, there was an increase of 3.2 seconds to complete the 400-meter examination. We found no significant associations between muscle attenuation and any of the functional performance measures. These results support previous finding that suggests that muscle mass is a significant predictor of leg strength, in addition to a higher intermuscular fat being associated with a slower gait speed. These results provide a basis for examining longitudinal associations between CT imaging of muscle metrics and functional measures. CT imaging and functional tests in a clinical setting can be used to help predict hospitalization and identify and screen patients who are at risk for functional disability or immobility. Moving forward, in our future works, we hope to recruit upward of 200 participants to expand the research and create a stronger correlation between muscle quality, fat infiltration, and functional performance. I'd like to give a special thanks to the National Institutes of Health, as well as the National Institute of Aging, Fulbright, and the National Science Foundation for funding my participating in the Wake Forest Biomedical Engineering RAU this past summer, as well as to the entire INVEST study and my Wake Forest lab, as well as my mentors, Dr. Kristen Beavers, Dr. Ashley Weaver, and Dr. Ryan Miller. Questions?
high association or influence of the intermuscular fat on the walk, negative, some more fat, slower walk, but not as much in the force of the thigh, right? And so how do you explain that?
To say the least, more research is required to be able to explain the functional performance, especially when it comes to comparison between the intermuscular and subcutaneous fat, being that it's such a small differentiation between where the fat is located. But that is something that we hope to examine more and get a better understanding of as we continue to recruit more participants.
Time for several more questions. I have one more question. Were there differences between the groups that you mentioned in the beginning, the weight vest group and the resistance group?
Well, as we received participants, this data was collected from their baseline data. So before they were assigned, his question was whether or not there was a difference between the participants who were assigned to the weight loss group versus the weight loss and resistance training versus the weight loss and weighted vest usage. The answer is the data that was collected on the participants was collected before they were randomly assigned to their groups. So before they had any participation in any of our weight loss initiatives, this was the data that we collected from them. Yes.
So when you're evaluating, are you, for the four functional tests, are they evaluated at the same scale? Like which one is more important? Are they all like equally important?
Yes, her question was when it came to the functional examinations, the ranking of importance of the functional test. The answer is they all bring forth their own particular insight on the lower extremity power and force production, as well as mobility in the lower extremities. The isokinetic dynamometer provided us with information about force of the leg, while the timed up and go and 400-meter walk provided us with mobility information when it came to time. And the stair climb test provided us with power production from the participants. So they all brought forth their own unique information about lower extremity muscle quality.
Any other questions for Miracle?
So, did you have the patients volunteer in diseases if they had such as diabetes to see if there's a correlation between intramuscular fat and other diseases? That was like an easy addition to the study.
His question was whether or not we asked participants to volunteer any other obesity-related health conditions. We did collect information on the other health conditions that these participants had as they submitted it, but it was not something that we used in the study in particular to be able to find that correlation, but that is something that we could potentially examine in the future. Thank you.